Hey everyone, we are back with yet another podcast session. Today we have Vandana Tolani as our guest on the show. She is the founder and CEO of Convanto. She is a versatile and creative professional with over 25 years of experience in international and domestic business advice and fundraising. A skilled strategic planner with a track record of mentoring new businesses, recognizing new growth opportunities, devising innovative strategies, and building high-performing teams. Her primary focus is on raising funds for early-stage startups across industries and industry subverticals. Let's get started with an insightful session with her.
All right, welcome to another episode of Podcast by Payomatics, Vandana. We're really glad to have you on board with us, and thank you for taking time out for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all of you. You have invited me here, and I'm honored for, having come here on your esteemed podcast.
Thank you. All right, so keeping in mind the limited time duration and the conventional way of a podcast, are we good to go? Are we good to start?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Great, great. All right. So, Vandana, because you're an expert when we speak about funding, when we speak about startups, and the main essence of any startup is, the confusions around how the funding will happen, who would be the correct ones to approach, and all the questions around that. So, if we can, understand from the expert itself, um, how do you think we can master the funding game?
So essentially, it's also how you move forward. There are many startups that come to me uh, doing good work with a great turnover, but still their companies are not private limited.
Mhm.
They don't want to have another founder in the team
Mhm.
because they don't want to share the, equity.
Right.
But when we go into funding, I think it's
Mhm.
very essential that these two factors are taken care of. A private limited is essentially really important, and also having two to three founders before you jump into the investment game. And like I had my own family office fund, and I have been in the space for 20 years. So it's also about your relationships with the funds, with how you
Absolutely.
have built these relationships and how you want to take it forward from there.
Correct.
So essentially, it's a whole lot of thing. I mean, to master it, essentially, one needs to be in the industry for several decades, and which investor to tap and what relationship you have with the investor, which startup to propose. So there are a lot of things that go into this. Essentially, investors look for three things. One is that background of these founders, which is essential. What is it that disruptive that they are bringing on the table? And
Mhm.
of course, the revenue does come into part,
Right.
which is the third thing. I think, um, you know, also, I have seen founders, I mean, doing such great work, but they don't want to have their documents in place,
Correct.
is in
Correct.
which is their pitch deck, the financial model valuation, the business plan, and they don't want to spend that much money to get it done by a professional.
Mm.
And I think that is where they backfall. So I'll just explain it. Like when we go to buy chocolates, it's wrapped beautifully, and we get attracted to it, and we buy those chocolates.
Right.
Similarly, we have to wrap the company beautifully
Correct.
into a pitch deck, into a financial model valuation, and a business plan, which sells to these investors because we are selling the companies to the investors as an investment banker. And having the right investment banker is very, very essential, who can guide you through the entire process, not only just with the fundraise, but there are lots of other things that goes into place. I think these are some of the things one needs to master this.
Absolutely well said. In fact, this brings me to my next question, because when we go around for the funding rounds, we generally forget the main essence, and that is how to actually, tap onto the correct investor as per our business needs. Because at this point of time, we have a market wherein we have a lot of startups, we have a lot of investors. But how do you think it would be helpful for the early age startups to identify a potential investor as per their business model or as per their business need?
So, identifying and engaging the right kind of investors for your business is vital to the fundraising process.
Yeah,
Now, for those that don't hire investment bankers, it can be tasking to handle this because they don't have direct relationships with these funds, with these
correct.
angels, HNIs, VCs, and PEs.
Right.
And also, what startups tend to do is that they have not well researched on the investor. Like who is there investing, industry, which companies or stages, sectors they invest in, which investors are providing, capital amounts that are within the range of the target fundraise, and which investors are either located in your geographic region or willing to invest in the companies from your geographic area. So I think, these things one needs to keep, um, well informed about. So if it's a food startup, they generally want to, approach a food fund, not a tech fund. So if it's a
Correct.
tech startup, please don't approach a food fund. So also, if you don't have relationships, it's kind of difficult because yeah, you cannot do cold calling. I mean, cold calling doesn't
Correct.
work in
Right.
this business. Yeah,
Right. So that's I think absolutely well agreed that I think research is the key once you start up with your own
yeah,
business idea. And secondly, I think networking is the major thing which comes in. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Great, great. All right. So as you already, mentioned that the example wherein we go and buy chocolates and it is nicely wrapped and we are, attracted to it and buying it, and that's how our pitch deck should be. Could you give a sneak peek into some tips and hoops about how we can level up the pitch deck, the startup pitch deck?
One of the services that Convanto provides is developing these pitch decks with the right content, the right design, the right kind of slides as per the global standard formats. Now, what is pitching all about? It's about storytelling. Now,
Correct.
what made you? So, I had met a lady who has just delivered a baby in one of the panel discussions, and
Okay.
what made her, go to this making of this brands for pregnant ladies, the clothing and the other stuff.
Right.
If you have dark circles, those things also. But main was the clothing, and comfortable clothing was her, difficult time of having to get those kind of clothes. So behind every founder, there is some um, thing that vision that comes in, or that difficulty that they have faced makes them jump into a startup.
Startup. Right.
Similarly, I was doing a legal company. It's an Amazon of lawyers,
Okay.
wherein even Ashwarya Rai has funded in that company. Now, that person's vision was that what happened with him, when he needed a lawyer, and what kind of support he needed, which he didn't have. So he went to develop this whole ecosystem of lawyers.
Okay.
So I think that story is really important. What are the important slides? Like, I've had people, VC funds.
Yeah.
Now, VC funds have come up to me with their portfolio companies, with, pitching their stuff to me with 60 slides, 40 slides.
Right.
So I've told them that you need to cut short.
That's true.
So I think that is not acceptable. 15 to 20 slides, having the right kind of slides, making it more numeric and graphics and less texty, and keeping it short and making it engaging would always help them to
Hmm.
get fast money. Of course, it's not only just the pitch deck, but it's also it's like if a fund is looking at your deck for the first time and they have not interacted with you, they don't know who you are. They so that would leave an impression. Hence, it's important to do it up very professionally, up to the mark, and in a professional manner where it's acceptable to these investors.
Well said.
Um, I think that is the main essence of having this pitch deck in your lives.
That's true. That's very well said. How actually a pitch deck can communicate in various ways. That's something which needs to be taken care of. And also, your example that was really beautiful about a person, a lady who actually gave birth and the kind of problems she faced and then gave birth to this business idea. Also, these days we see a lot of shepreneurs, a lot of a rise in trend of the women in leadership roles.
Hmm.
What viewpoints do you hold for that? I mean, it's amazing to see so many women into this space now.
Um, so, and though I have worked globally and we are a global entity, I'd like to focus on the situation in India.
Right.
Since I feel I'm more equipped to the answer, because I have been in India for now almost 8 to 9 years. There has been a growth in positive attitudes towards working women in India, entrepreneurs, women just like me. An increasing number of startups and new businesses have been founded in India over the last decade. Now, the majority of them are by men. It's
Right.
important to note that while many Indian women have entrepreneurial ambitions, it's often more difficult for them to succeed. So I think we still have a long way to go.
Oh,
Opportunities for women to enter employment in the country are limited by a range of factors. These include a dominant tradition of female domestic responsibility, uh, and a prevailing social patriarchy,
that's true.
deeply enriched cultural experiences means that women are more likely to stay at home when they do work. It's mainly on an informal basis without the luxury of secured wages and contracts. And then against this backup, the idea of female entrepreneurship in India faces major challenges. Setting up a business can require, significant efforts outside of normal work times and
Agreed.
can lead to women being perceived as, responsible if they dedicate time to entrepreneurial activities. So, although there has been a change in the rise of female entrepreneurship in India, this change has comes at a slow pace.
Correct.
And I'm sincerely hoping that the future brings in a rise in this wave of
Right.
shepreneurship, because at the end of the day, women do help lift up economies, and it's time we do understand this, especially because it all begins from home. You see, if there is no pink and blue, if there is no
Correct.
ball for soccer for the boys and doll for the girls, I mean, if the change has to start
Right
then.
now. Correct,
Yeah,
correct. And
right
I
now.
do hope that the kind of system which is so deep rooted into the Indian mentality, Indian society, that really washes off, and we see more of women in leadership roles, as we are seeing. Great.
Yes, yes.
Also, because I have seen a lot of founders who struggle to go through the whole process, maybe it be funding, be it be networking, be it be, tapping onto the right people. I think one thing is which they need to maintain is the resilience and how to actually sail through the tough business problems. How do you, because you've been into this space since so long, and I'm sure you must have come across a lot of issues. So, how do you think that we can build resilience? Founders can build resilience and sail through the tough business problems.
So I'd like to answer the second part of the question first. The most important factor to succeed in the business is your idea itself. What
Correct.
sets your business apart from all others? Now, is it competitive enough? Clever marketing or innovating product won't guarantee success, and you have to offer real quality and value to your customers. Now, aside from this, the long term success of your business also depends on how you built your brand. Have you hired the right talent to do so? Your company's team will be the backbone to your success and inevitably help you as much as a founder's, built resiliences. Now,
Right.
I can give you an example. In our company, we don't have timings,
Okay.
fixed timings for our employees. They can come in whenever they want, but they have to finish the work at a given set time. And it's not necessary for them to even come in every day. We provide them food, we provide them transportation as well. So, I think because they are also doing a lot of work behind the
Right.
scenes. And additionally, something I always encourage startup founders to do is build a wide and solid network. It's our actual capital is not our financial capital, it's our human capital.
Capital. Well said.
Uh, and building a personal network helps in more than just one way and plays an enormous role in the success of a business. In fact, I know some people who have gained immense success simply by networking.
True.
Um, and another key factor is sales. Remember that without sales, a good idea is a failure.
Right.
Uh, Another thing I emphasize while training the startup founders is that entrepreneurs, as an entrepreneur, constantly selling your vision to prospective employees, partners, advisors, investors. So be confident to the point and thorough in your pitch. Um, you know, there have been cases where the founder themselves don't know what they are selling,
So, right.
and they don't know, they're not confident enough. So we have to show that confidence. Last but not the least, one of the most important factors to be successful is hard work. I mean, these are a few steps that can help you sail through business problems and perhaps even avoid them in the first place. As a founder, your resilience will only rise with
Right.
time as you are made to face new obstacles. So, founders uh, don't have the patience, perseverance, consistency, because of the changing
Right.
technology or having too many failures. Taking so we had a founder who bought a car with the investors' money.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
and then we had another founder who treated cancer with the investors' money. So
Okay.
these practices are not acceptable as well
Absolutely.
because investors' hard-earned money is going into a company. So I think we have to keep the personal and professional, in the separate
Yeah.
boats and then deal with them separately.
Right. Right.
Uh,
I think drawing a line is very, very important, and
yeah,
keeping your visions clear is the second most important thing. Right.
and keeping yourself updated, of course, reading all the time what's going
Mm-hmm.
on in the industry. Like, what's the trend now? I can tell you, everybody's gone to Dubai for GTEx.
Yeah.
So,
True.
and that's trending. So, if we talk to any other person, they're already in Dubai.
Yeah.
So, so I think that's trends. You must know that what's happening where.
True. Staying updated is actually the key when we come into this space, especially. That's really
Even in
true.
the global markets, like what's happening in
Absolutely.
Singapore, what's happening in USA, which sector is hot.
True, because I think this is very, very, I'll say it's ever-changing scenario, and in a blink of an eye, we see some or the other trend which is rising up, and then staying updated is it's really important for everybody.
Yes,
True,
yes.
true, true. All right. Last but not the least, Vandana, we would really like to hear from you certain pointers which you think how investors, their viewpoint and how they evaluate a particular startup?
So I think the team needs to be complementary. Is what investors do look at. What is the drive in the founders? Whether the founder is humble enough to pivot.
Hmm.
Now, a humble word has been sometimes misunderstood. It doesn't mean being submissive. It means being able to pivot at the right time,
Right.
and having a complementary team always helps you. What is it that your larger problem that you're solving? Also, what investors do look at, and last comes the revenue. I think these are some of the factors which investors really look for uh, before they pick up. Besides how what is the story, of course, and whether it's a unique proposition that you are bringing into, um, uh, you know, in front of everybody. But apart from that, it's these three things. It's also your characteristics. I mean, you could be highly educated, you could be doing the best, but if you're not well behaved,
Wow,
it
that
all
counts.
goes. I think the behavior is very important. I could give an example. I'm not sure whether if this goes public, it's Shark Tank. You see,
Yeah, yeah.
the Shark Tank, there were behavior problems with the investors
Right.
and how they treated people. So I think how you treat people really. Um,
It counts.
uh,
It actually
it
counts.
counts how you behave. What
True.
is it that, I mean, we do get several calls during the day, and there are all kinds of calls that we attend to. But I think when you keep your cool and calm, and if you don't want to attend to anything, you can just do it very calmly. And if you want to attend to somebody, I mean, it's not necessary to insult all the time. So
True.
I think
True.
that counts a lot, whether it's the
That's
investor,
that's
whether
that's
it's the
very
founder.
true. Right. Even I have witnessed that, roasting somebody has actually become a very trending thing these
Yeah,
days, and we actually forget, people forget wherein we have to draw a line, and at what categories, at what sectors, and what's actually the limitation of it. That's very well said.
yeah.
Um, great, Vandana. It was amazing speaking to you, and I'm quite sure our viewers would love to have this insightful session. And the key takeaways, the notes, and the expertise which you provided was immensely insightful for us. So, thank you so much for taking your time for us. And I know how busy is your schedule, and still making
Yeah.
time for us. That's a big thing. Glad to have you with us, and thank you so much.
Thank you and have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening this insightful podcast. Get the opportunity to grow and build your network with us alongside a cocktail dinner. Founder Investor Networking event will be held in 16th of November from 7 p.m. onwards at Crown Plaza, Mayur Vihar, New Delhi. Register today and book your seat.